Hey guys, it's Johnny here. Today's video is on the concept of living in abundance instead of living in scarcity. And I have a question for you because this is part of the process. How many of us are living right now in a state of fear? And how many of you understand what that means to you physically as well as psychologically? Most of us understand that fear is something that affects us mentally, right? But how many of us understand that fear affects us physiologically as well? So your body is a part of the process because everything that your mind does, it takes your body along with it. Because remember, the brain is a part of the body. And a lot of times we separate the two, right? We think mind, body, we separate them. So let me give you a story here. So let's talk about Jane, random Jane. Nobody I know, just random Jane, Jane Doe. And Jane happens to have made some decisions in her life that have led her to a place where she maybe has some creditors calling her on a fairly regular basis. So she never answers her phone because the phone creates in her a distress reaction, even if it's a friend of hers. And then Jane has also managed to place herself into some relationships that were not necessarily healthy for her and made some decisions about that. So maybe when the phone rings, she's not just concerned because of bill collectors and creditors that might be calling, but she might be concerned that somebody that she doesn't want to talk to is calling her. And maybe Jane is feeling very anxious and depressed as a result of a lot of these things in her life. And so she has a tendency to maybe check out for a few days at a time and not want to get out of bed. And so she doesn't even want to answer the phone when it might be somebody helpful and loving that's calling because she doesn't want to have to answer to that. So how many of us have been in one or all of these situations in our lives? I've been there. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to hide. But I also didn't know at the time, and I was a clinician, but I had to learn this. The neuroscience behind all of that is very interesting because here's what happens. The body doesn't know the difference between, oh, I had some joiners. Hey, Rob, nice to see you. Sean, Don, hi, nice to see you. Thank you for joining. So the brain doesn't know the difference between an imagined threat and an actual threat. So let's put this into real life terms. So let's say that we are in a life ending possibility, that we're in a car accident, and the car accident could have a life ending event to it. Our body does a few things. First off, the body releases endorphins. The body releases adrenaline, the body releases serotonin, the body releases norepinephrine, the body releases some other good stuff for us that not only increases our chances for survival because we're able to fight, flee, or freeze, which doesn't necessarily help our chances for survival, but sometimes it does. I mean, like a rabbit freezes. Sometimes that helps us. So the 3 Fs, fight, flight, or freeze, mechanism gets, triggered. And what does that do? Well, it helps us in the sense of danger. Like if a man-eating lion is chasing me and I get a burst of norepinephrine and adrenaline in my system, what's going to happen? I'm going to be able to run away from that man-eating lion. Now, go back to the situation that I just explained about the phone calls. Phone rings. Imagine in the brain. Freak out. There is a life-threatening, it's not really life-threatening, but we make it a life-threatening situation in our head. What ends up happening to the body? The body comes along for the ride. So the body goes, oh, there's a man-eating lion chasing me. I'm going to react to that. And so Phone call from a creditor, phone call from somebody that you don't want to talk to because you're in a bad relationship with them, phone call from a loved one who cares about you that you're hiding from because you're doing something that you don't want to have to answer to, same response. The body does the same thing. Now, let's take this out over time. What ends up happening when your distress tolerance response is triggered and it continues over time, and you have this long-term distress? Now what? You are living in a state of constant distress. Guess what that's doing to your body? Guess what that's doing to your mind? It's one of the reasons why depression and anxiety are probably some of the hardest things to overcome when you get into that cycle, because you're stuck. You're stuck in on mode in terms of your body as well as your brain reacting. So when people tell you to just deal with it or walk it off, it's legitimately a problem for you. But here's the thing, is we could sit back and we could say, well, that's not, we should be able to we should not have to respond to that, because there's nothing we can do about it. No, that's not true. There are many things you can do about it. And one of the things that you can do about it is you can reverse what you're doing. You're letting your brain lead, right? When you're in that state of mind, you're letting your brain decide. And guess what? Your brain is responsible for two basic functions in your life: keeping you alive, despite your best reality of trying to do the opposite, and procreation. So your brain is really only responsible for those two things when it comes down to it. Your brain also reverts to all kinds of other things in order to do those functions. So what do you think you need to control in order to get your brain back on track? And if you said your body, you're exactly right. You need to get your body on track, which is one of the reasons why exercise, sleep, hydration, nutrition, and just general meditation and getting your body right are the best things that you can possibly do for your body as well as for your brain. It makes you smarter, and that's a video for another time because that's a whole long, huge topic. It's better for your body, obviously. Your cardiovascular system improves, your muscular system improves, your ability to fat burn improves, your feeling better about yourself improves. All of that improves because you have conquered this whole body thing. Now, what does this have to do with living in scarcity or fear versus living in abundance and hope? Well, this is what it has to do with. If I live in a state of constant fear, if I live in my head and I'm constantly afraid that the phone ringing is the same thing as being in a fatal accident, then I am destroying not only my body, but I'm destroying my mind. And I really, honestly, how can you do that to yourself? Why would you do that to yourself? You wouldn't want anybody you love to be like that, right? Living in this state of scarcity and fear, as though you're never going to. What if you do pick up that phone? What's the worst thing that could happen? Somebody could tell you that you owe them some money. Well, you're probably aware of that. And you're probably aware that there might be something that you can do about it. But you need to work through that. You need to work through the fear and face it, right? Living in abundance, on the other hand, living in the sense that there's hope in your life, that you can pick up that phone and resolve that problem so that it's no longer a man-eating lion chasing you. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't it be so amazing to live your life in a way that was hopeful instead of fearful? When we live in fear, not only are we living in our head, but we are taking our body along for a very dangerous ride. When we live in a thought of abundance, that I can make enough money, that I can find a way to resolve my problems, that I can problem solve, that I can do the things that I want to do, that I can move my body in ways that I never thought that I could move my body before, that I can reach goals that I never thought that I could reach before. When we live in a state of hope, guess what that does? It's like mind blown. You take your body where you want the brain to go, and then the brain will follow along. This whole concept that we are living in a state of constant fear that something is going to kill us actually ends up killing us. Do you know that heart disease, most of you probably know this, heart disease is the #1 cause of death in the Western world right now? Why? I believe, because I've seen countless examples of this with clients of mine, that it starts in the head. Heart disease starts here. When the brain is damaged and diseased, the whole body becomes diseased. When you put that kind of emotional panic and stress on your body over a period of time, guess what happens to your heart? Guess what happens to your body? It totally deteriorates. Those nasty negative thoughts you keep in your head and that you put in your body and that you feed yourself are killing you right now. So how do you fix that? How do you change back time? It's simple. You be good to yourself and you do the things that need to be done in order to get your body back on track so that you can bring your mind back on track again. If you're depressed and you don't want to get out of bed and you're terrified every time the phone rings because you think it's going to be somebody who's either criticizing you, asking you for money, or demanding something of you, and you, in your mind, somehow have connected that with like death threats, some sense of impending doom, get up and do some squats. As funny as that sounds ridiculous, right? Get up out of bed. You don't even have to change in anything. You can do a squat in your nightgown or your underwear or naked, whatever it is that you wear to bed. I don't care. I don't even want to know. But the point is that you can do that without having to do anything extra. You just get up and do that. And guess what happens over a period of time when you start to feel better about yourself, because you're feeding your body not with negativity and negative thoughts in your brain, and you're not letting your head lead. You're letting your body lead. So that's my story, and that's my point for you today. And I want you guys to all live in a state of abundance. It's not, if a lot of people get the whole like law of attraction thing wrong. They somehow think that it's about like, I can just meditate here and I can imagine like the car that I want to suddenly appear in my driveway tomorrow. And that's not how it happens. It doesn't happen that way. You have to do the work for it, but the work doesn't have to be hard in terms of being impossible. The work is possible. You can't maybe do it right now, but you can do it eventually. I can't do it yet. That's that mindset. The mindset of, I have hope. I can't do this yet, but I can do it tomorrow if I practice at it. That's what you have to, go for. So anyway, I love you all. Live in a state of success. Live in a state of hope. Live in a state of abundance, that you can make anything happen that you want to happen if you do the work and you have the heart and you believe that you can get out of the fear, because the fear is only going to take you down. I love you all, and hit me up. Ask me for help. I'll be your biggest cheerleader. Talk to you later. Bye.